Good afternoon, Mr. Bobby Capuccio. How are you?
Hello, Jane. How are you?
Yes, I'm extremely well. I'm extremely relaxed as I'm on summer holidays, um, but very much looking forward to speaking to you.
As am I. Looking forward to speaking to you.
Of course.
And all of you, of course.
Of course.
Why would I be looking forward to speaking to myself? That's just madness. I've taken my medication. I'm feeling fine.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. Well, you know what, Jane, if I can interject, I want to change things up because I have a question for you.
okay.
Being that I am not an expert in the domain of group exercise, as are you, what is it, would you say, that in the EU and in the UK specifically, most group exercise instructors, regardless of what they teach, are looking to attain more of? What's really important to them? What do they feel that they might lack? And if they had it, they feel greater intrinsic satisfaction in their career.
Well, I think it's a good time to ask that. I think most instructors per se, whether they're group or gym or PT, they want notoriety and they want respect for what they do. They want to be heard. They want to stand out from the crowd and they want to be recognised as individuals for the skills that they have. You know, a lot of the stuff we do it comes under kind of headings, but within those headings, people have fantastic skill, and I think they want to break out of the control groups that they've kind of been put into.
You know, if I could challenge conventional wisdom, I just want to say that notoriety and respect for what you do is not only something that we all want, if we're honest with ourselves. I mean, you could lie to yourself and say, that's not important to me at all. You know, we have biologically, and it's essential for our survival, but that's a whole different webinar, the need to be accepted, to be recognized, to be appreciated. But it's not only something we want, I think it's something we're responsible for attaining, because as long as our ego does not edge our customer out, as long as our ego doesn't supersede the value that we contribute and our reasons for doing so, I think when we're recognized, it meets a need within us. And when our needs are met, we're more creative, we're more powerful, we're more persistent than at any other time. So I think anybody who's listening to this, who's thinking, you know what, I would like more recognition for what I do, not only do you deserve it, and not only is it normal to want it, but I think we're responsible to acknowledge that desire within us, because a lot of people have said in the past, no, it's not about the presenter, it's never about the instructor, it's always about the client. Yes, and because of that, we need to be brutally honest to the answer of the question, why do I do this? What is it that intrinsically drives me? Yes, it's contribution. Yes, it's making other people's lives better. Yes, it's cultivating a relationship. But what is it that I need? And if I don't have it, is going to impede the process by which I could be a top-level presenter. I could be maximally creative and inspired and passionate 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the line, still in this industry, yielding value. So I think that's something that's very important that you just said.
So can I ask you a question then? If we base today around, and I think you could really help a lot of people. So I know so many instructors and I speak to them on a daily basis. And one of the major problems that they have right now, and this is nothing against these products, is that for the past 5 or 10 years, they've been teaching, for example, Les Mills or Zumba or one of the brands of product, and they have evolved and they've become brilliant, but it's very hard to find your place as a good Zumba or as a good Les Mills, because you're always representing the brand. You make the brand better, the better you get, but you never really stand out from the brand. So how can these people exert their influence in their own style and in their own way?
Well, I'm very biased when it comes to things like this. I've built my career on existing within a team. to me, it was always more inspiring to be part of something bigger than I was, bigger than Bobby Cappuccio. And that's not for everybody. And that doesn't mean that someone who builds their own brand name is wrong. It's a matter of honesty. One question you need to ask yourself is, am I an entrepreneur or am I an intrapreneur? Now, the word entrepreneur entered into the English lexicon in the year 1800 by the French economist J.B. Say. And J.B. Say said that an entrepreneur is someone who brings areas of low yield, and he was talking about economics, into areas of high yield. Now, that is a very good skill. That's indispensable. But that skill divides into, am I best when I create my own brand, when I create my own path, blaze my own trail, or am I more inspired when I could trade my talent, my passion for someone else's infrastructure and coexist in a partnership? Because if you're not that person, if you're the type of person that is okay with a modicum of risk, you're someone who has to do things your way, you're someone whose philosophy in life is, if it isn't broken, break it, you'll never be happy working within another brand. And you have to think of ways to identify, what is my story? Because stories are at the heart of all marketing and all communication. Yeah. See the people tell the story. It's a formula. And how does my story evoke an emotional response? How does it go from something people should do to a must-have, must-be part of? Faith Popcorn said that the customer of the moment is the one who buys your brand. The customer of a lifetime, let's say the client of a lifetime, is the one who joins your brand. In other words, they don't want to use what you have. They want to identify and become what you embody. So if that's your unique voice and you can get really clear on who is my target customer, what is my story, and why is it unique, you can build a brand for yourself. But if you're someone who says, you know what, I like being part of something bigger than myself, then being the best performer, the best educator, the best coach within something like Les Mills or Zumba, which, I mean, let's be honest, these two companies have done an extraordinary job.
Absolutely.
And whether you like Zumba, whether you like Les Mills or not, you have to admit that many lives have been touched by these companies, and they're both a force to be reckoned with. And some people, that sense of affiliation drives them more. And
I agree. No, please. I agree totally. They're the best things that have happened to our industry in a long time. But a lot of the instructors are frustrated right now.
Let's take a step back. Mm-hmm. I think whether you're recognized or not, whether you're on your own or you're in a company, you could still get a lot of recognition, if not from the company you work for your peers and colleagues. See, people who are good at what they do have a propensity to admire people who excel in that same area.
Brilliant, yeah.
Now, some people, rather than getting better, choose to get bitter. Some people that have a high degree of ego and a very low degree of talent, those are the people who cut people down because they feel they're not getting the recognition that they deserve. They have a sense of entitlement, and they're more concerned with their rights than their responsibilities. But people who are truly good at what they do, who rise to the top, tend not to tear down, but rather lift up and want to be around other people who are truly extraordinary. And the way to gain that respect from the end user, from a client, from your colleagues, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, is to do three things that I'm going to talk about today. And before I get into what those three things are, and these three things will change your life, Anthony Robbins says the quality of your life is in direct correspondence to the quality of your communication, and that's true. Because communication is not about relaying information. When you're communicating face-to-face, whether that's 1-to-1, 1-to-5, or 1-to-500, the intention always has to be to influence. Not to get people to do something that they don't want to do, but to incite an action that they would not do if they did not come face-to-face with you. So let me tell you a story. Recently, I was having a conversation with another presenter in the fitness industry. This guy is at FitPro convention every single year. He's probably going to be at Cannes FitPro. He's one of the more popular guys in human movement science. Guy is just extraordinary, widely respected, really good mate of mine. And somehow the conversation shifted to a story about how he arrived at Heathrow one year and he was quite ill. Now, we've all been there, where you know you've got to go to a course and you've got fever and you're really sick, but you know what? People are expecting you to show up. You can't cancel. So he arrives at Heathrow and he gets all the way to his hotel and he's a bit nervous. So he went ahead and took some drugs and they were medicinal, I think. I'm not sure. And then he went to bed early. But anyway.
Who is this presenter?
Next morning, when he woke up in his hotel room after an obscenely long sleep, I mean, this guy was out for like over 15 hours. He was really surprised to find that he felt incredibly good. Now, after the amount of drugs he took the night before, you would say, well, yeah, that's obvious. Why wouldn't he? But you see, he felt good until the point where he turned over in bed and noticed that it was 10:55 in the morning. Now, the fact that it's 10:55 in the morning in and of itself is not usually disturbing to most people, except for the fact that his seminar was scheduled for 11 in the morning. So
I've done that.
Dress, showered, and make it all the way over to the convention center, which was about 15 minutes away. And in a state of panic, he jumped up, splashed water all over his face, put his underpants on, got dressed, or maybe that was exactly the opposite way around. I can't remember the story. Got dressed, put his underpants on, and then showered.
This person's isn't it?
What? No, it's not me. It's not me. You just think, okay, right. Yeah, somebody takes drugs the night before and irresponsibly wakes up and goes outside wearing their underpants.
It's got to be Bobby.
Bobby. No, it's not. Someone else. I promise you. But anyway, he arrives into the room 10 minutes late. Well done, actually. That's impressive. And he anxiously tries to start up his computer. His computer crashes. So here this guy is. He's got all his PowerPoints gone. He's got no ability to prepare. His mindset is just wrecked. And at this point, he gave up. He closed his computer. And he did something that very few presenters would have the audacity to do. He just spoke to the audience, off the cuff, in the moment, and he said it was one of the best presentations he ever gave.
Brilliant.
And the conference he was attending said they received the best evals on him in his entire career.
Wow.
So one of the most effective ways to expand your scope, your reputation, to elevate your career is not to be someone who relays information, not someone who merely knows your cues, knows your step, knows your lines, but someone who has mastered communication to where you can go on autopilot. And, we're all presenters, period, especially group exercise.
Oh, yeah.
You're in a room with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people. Sometimes you go into conferences, you've got hundreds of people there. And I've coached many people all over the world that were brilliantly infectious on a social level, yet nearly lobotomized in front of the room or in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, someone who I coached a long time ago, and this woman was just gorgeous. And when I mean gorgeous, I just don't mean on the outside, which she was, but on the inside. She was just a lovely girl. And she was one of the wittiest people I had ever met. She was, you could give her a word, and she would go on a 30-minute comedy act on that one word, and she was spot on, always hilarious. I've never seen her off. The first time she spoke to a group of a couple hundred people, I was in the back of the room, and it was shocking. It was one of the most painful things I've ever watched. Someone who stuttered, mumbled. She didn't look at the room. She just completely shut down. You thought it was her first day, out in society. She learned how to speak last week. And if anything can kill your career, or at least hold it back, it's lacking the ability to connect. And in every case, now I've coached people through Asia, Australia, the United States. I've coached people in every single business arena, from real estate to telecommunications people who do direct sales, and through PTA Global, I created something called the teaching school component of the apprenticeship, where we get rid of the subconscious barriers you have to stepping out into your power and being able to create on demand in front of an audience. And in every case, the people that I have coached, the ones that rose to the top, became brilliant presenters, not because I taught them anything truly extraordinary, but because I simply reminded them or exposed them to strategies that allowed them to be more of themselves than they ever gave themselves permission to be. So there are 3 keys to avoiding brain lock as a presenter. And I know we've all had this where it's your turn to speak, or it's the first time you ever taught a class and you got right up, but your brain sat right back down. And you're like, wait, well, mate, where are you? And you just like went into brain freeze and you choked. And the 3 keys to removing that from your life forever is, number 1, don't think, react. Number 2, move. Number 3, understand how to let it go and let it flow. Let me explain this.
Is that not our job? You've just said the 3 things that we do. That's Group X.
You can always tell a presenter in the front of the room who has stayed up the night before, went over his or her notes, went over each slide, said, what am I going to talk about in this slide, this slide, this slide, this slide? And they prepare to the point of paralysis by analysis. They're eloquent, they're well-spoken, they're on point, they make all their points, and at the end, they're just not effective. They seem affected, and you're like, wow, they were really good, but for whatever reason, you don't feel like something permeated your heart and mind. The worst thing a presenter could hear at the end of the presentation is, wow, you really do a good job. If I'm thinking about you, and I'm not overwhelmed with how I feel, you really screwed up as a presenter. And there is plenty of time, don't get me wrong, to think about what you want to say, the points you want to get across, and the objectives that you wish to meet while you're in front of the room or the microphone or the camera. But when it's time to perform, just like a master tennis player or a high-level Olympian, the Olympics, we just witnessed an outstanding display in London a few days ago at the closing ceremonies. It's time to let all the work that you put into your presentation come out of you.
Yeah.
Let put in come out. Be in the moment. And if you're thinking about what to say, or, ooh, how am I being received? Or am I being eloquent? Am I being well-spoken? What are they perceiving of me? You are mentally at that moment in the future. Now, the problem with that is your audience and your presentation takes place in the present. You've left the room. You've not only left the room, you're in a different point of time and space. Now, if you're not Dr. Bloody Who, that's the wrong place for you to be. So if you didn't arrive in the TARDIS, don't do that. The best way to get in the moment is to move. When in doubt, get yourself thinking by getting yourself moving. And, sadly, I've been to public speaking courses where they tell you that you want to stand erect and be authoritative and project properly from behind the podium. Now, I agree with one thing. If you're standing erect in front of your audience, in that situation, you should probably be standing behind a podium. However, my advice to you is if you're learning how to stand erect in front of your audience, lay off the Viagra for just like a moment, mate. And when it comes conference time, don't just stand there, move. Get from one side of the stage to the other, move through your audience. I don't care if your audience is a Group X class. The more you move through people and look at people and you're immersed in them, the less you're going to be thinking about what to say and the more fluent. There is a direct link between kinesthetic movement patterns and clarity and expediency of thought. And the magic happens when you're out among your members or your audience and you just look them in the eye, because at that moment, and it's not like a long stare, you're not burning a hole through their forehead, you're engaging them and you're not thinking about yourself. So at that point, you're going to be perceived as being more clear, more powerful, far more engaging. And I've done this in audiences in the 4 digits. So you can do this with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. Just pick one. And that person's going to walk out of there going, wow, that person, I was in a sea of like 1,000 people. that guy or that girl was talking to me.
Yeah.
And for you, it gets you out of your own head. The more you can get in your creativity, create on demand, get out of your head, the better. And that brings me to the third point: let go and flow. And this is hard to do because this involves detaching yourself from the outcome. Great thinkers don't get on stage. Great performers don't get on stage or in front of the group X room and think about the audience's reaction. They, like a great actor, morphs into character. You know, I was talking to my friend Tiana. She's an instructor at David Barton Gym the other day, and she's also an actress. And we were talking about morphing into the character that is in correspondence with what it is we want to achieve. Because what is it that great actors or actresses do? They use every molecule of their physiology, the choice of words that they use, their tonality, the essence of their entire being to provocatively shift the way you think, the way you feel, and hopefully the highest esteem is going into an agreement between the actors and the audience that I will allow you to affect me by suspending my belief and through storytelling take me on a journey, and in return I allow you to morph into a character to do that. So it's an exchange. And if affecting the way people think and feel to the point of when they leave the room they're somehow to a small or even profound degree transformed by what it is you presented, I think that's the highest level of esteem any Group X instructor, any trainer, any actor can achieve. And I have a friend of mine who teaches personal trainers how to present, and she was quite discouraged one day because she said she came back from a course that she was teaching, and one of the trainers, I love how we can get out of an audience of 100, 99 people can go, that was amazing, but one person,
and you talk about them for the next 6 months and they haunt your every waking, sleeping hour.
Listen to what this person said. This woman, by the way, was a leading actress. She played one of the leading roles in the theater, on the West End, and in Broadway for Phantom of the Opera. Now, some of you might have heard of that little tiny production. It's relatively popular. She was in a few movies, and she's just iconic in the theater world. And this person said, if I want to learn how to speak, I don't need to learn from an actress. And I'm sitting here going, mate, I don't know how many years you've been training. You're letting this get to you. I don't know who else I would rather learn from on how to influence and how to move people than someone who has made audiences all over the world cry and feel and let go of the facade that they carry around with them. There's no better to learn from.
But there's so much that goes into that kind of comment, isn't there? We know that now. Why people negate you is not because it might be because you're not very good. If the majority negate you, it's because you're not very good. If the minority negate you, it's because they're not very happy, usually.
Yeah, that comment has nothing to do with her. And, I was surprised, but I felt bad that she took it so to heart, because normally they don't give you one of the lead roles in the leading theater production if you kind of suck, do they? So she really knows how to move an audience. And I think I just want to finish on this. One of the hardest things to do is to let go of the outcome. Because when you're attached to how's this going to wind up and how's my evals going to come back, what are they going to think, you're basically saying, am I going to get approval from this? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But doing that in front of the room or thinking about that in front of the room forces you to focus inwardly when you should be focused outwardly. The performance that you're able to create in your outer world is in direct correspondence to the state you're in your inner world, and what causes people to stay up late, miss vital hours of sleep, rehearsing to make their main points on each slide. Ooh, what joke am I going to insert right over here? Mm-hmm. Wrong time to do that is right before you present, because these individuals often manage to come across, again, rehearsed, professional, prepared, affected, but sadly, they come across as disingenuous and lacking in power. And if you lack in power, you lack in effect. And the best preparation is daily immersion into research and application of your subject matter. And the more you try to force an outcome, the greater chances are that you're going to ensure the exact opposite is going to happen. And if you don't believe me, think about a time when you were just socially on. Your timing was perfect. You were charming, entertaining. You were at your best. Did you go out to the pub that night or go to that house party thinking, okay, what am I going to say? All right, I'm going to tell this joke.
Yeah.
Oh, when this person says this, you would be a disaster. I mean, have you ever tried to make yourself more attractive to someone? It usually does not end well as to when you're even thinking about it and you're just caught by surprise being your magnanimous self. And I'm done. That is, after doing thousands of presentations myself, some going exceedingly well, some not going exceedingly well. I can tell you, if these 3 points will do more to change your power, change your influence, whether you're speaking 1-on-1, 1-on-10, 1-on-1,000, than probably anything else.
Over and out. Well done. And thank you very much. Enjoy Toronto.
Thank you, Jane. I love speaking for CanFit Pro. What a stellar, well-organized professional organization.
Brilliant.
Very lucky again.
Brilliant. Take care.